We exit the doorway to find ourselves in the back of the hall near the windows. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people in the hall. They're all backed up against large windows and pillars, standing in sectioned crowds. I've never actually seen this many people in the throne room before. They all chat amongst themselves, their voices bouncing off the walls, forming a cacophony of nonsense. Just as I was starting to get used to the noise and presence of everyone in the room, they very suddenly quiet down. Just like that, everyone's eyes are on me. It's a horrible feeling. Bo Burnham wrote about it. I'm reminded of that night once again. Every person in the ballroom capitalized, standing around and staring at Lyle and I. It's happening again. I even start to feel the anger that took over during that awful moment, but I try to suppress it. Lyle lets go of my hand and instead holds onto the chains of the shackles, gently leading me to the center of the throne room. I'll stop, but it's not capitalized this time. I try to stare at the ground as we pass everyone, head down, in order to avoid drawing any more attention. That's not gonna work. I can't help but peek around out of the corner of my eyes. The left side of the throne room is lined with some chairs. There are 9 chairs in total, but only 7 people are seated in the row. I recognize a few of them from the solstice. Owls. Owl people. In a funny little owl gown.
And is it because they were very specifically the ones drawn in the background?
In the background of the solstice before?
There was an owl couple, and then I think there was like a feline couple. There might have actually been hawks, but owls, close enough.
The one on the right particularly reminds me of a Skeksis, down to having like the finger covering. That's like the ones that they would use to eat. Skeksis are so gross. 2 owls, tall and gray, their faces judgmental and stern. The male owl is clad in crimson fabrics, and the female one wears a teal dress. I also recognize the vixen sitting next to them, her sea foam green dress embroidered with flowers and vines. Her smile from that night is gone, replaced with a neutral expression. There are some new faces, though. At least, people I've never noticed before. Giant bear. Hello. Grape bear. Fruit of the Loom bear. This bear is sponsored by an American underwear brand. The one out of them that catches my eye is a large bear. He looks to be almost as big as Bjorn. I feel like if it caught your eyes, then you should open with that one. But that's just a minor thing. So big that his chair has considerable space between the chairs on either side of him to give the people sitting in those chairs enough room to sit. No, I got that. Not only is he as big as Bjorn, but he looks a lot like him too. Aside from the fact that his fur is black. On his left sits an elk. His antlers branch out, taking up a wide amount of space above his head. From the prongs of his antlers hang 4 metallic leaves, each one a different color. He looks to be very aged, but sits calm and steadily, like an old tree. This little nerd. Next to him is what looks like a stoat. His clothes are flashy and green.
He was like stoned.
Oh, the slightly red eye. That's slightly... I think that's the color all of their eyes are. Yeah, it seems like it.
We did say the same thing about the badger, interestingly.
It's the, yeah. I think it's the color contrast with the fur highlights it here, because this character has the lightest fur out of the one that have white sclera. Sclera? You know this word better because you get to talk about it all the time. His clothes are flashy and green, honeyed golden ribbons draping down the sleeves and lining his vest. I recognize the crest on his cape, the 4-leaf clover being pierced by an arrow. I saw banners flying on the walls of Braden's Vale when I passed through there on my way to Lyre. They have a good relation with Aaron, if my memory serves me right. Finally, at the very end of the row of chairs, closest to the throne, I see Liz. She sits in the chair, her hands placed in her lap, with one leg crossed over the other. Unlike everyone else, she's the only one not looking at me. She seems to be actually avoiding eye contact altogether. That is, until she looks up and her eyes meet mine. Well, that didn't last. I can't exactly understand the expression on her face and what it means, but she's clearly a bit uncomfortable. Maybe it's my appearance, or it's the fact that the day is finally here. Either way, I doubt she is here because she wants to be.
Can we go back for a second, just because I do want to call out, like, as far as side character designs go, like, fucking solid spread here. Like, this is, again, still, like, the
really good.
The highlight of Lyre for me, and what, like, keeps me coming back to it is, like, there's some solid, like, teasing of world building. Like, I want to know more about this deer man. I want to have a conversation about my life goals and aspirations with this man. Like, he really has a cool vibe and, like, some cool design things going on that I don't think I've seen before. Just the antler ornaments and the, like, color of his cloak. It's like, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I also like the vixen.
They're very well differentiated.
And it's just like, you know that, like, thought has gone into all this. Like he's not just winging it. Like, they all have a role in, you know, the society that Atmac has thought up here. And it's just kind of like, good job. Good fucking job.
Yeah. The other side, unfortunately, is just being like, I would like to have a read on any of the personalities before now, if they're going to be the deciding characters to the climax of the story, potentially. Like, what if we knew all these people? I've held back from calling
this out, but this is the most, like, wow, this was, like, build 10, probably, and it's like, if only we had these sprites 7 builds ago, like, for when we were going around the castle.
Like, having the chance to meet even some of these characters beforehand could have really colored the story, and they might, like, having reactions of, like, what they think of Raynar and what they think of Kadaj and how they may or may not react to the trial, and the contrasting of, like, this or that character that seemed to like Richter before, fully believing that he's the murderer, or maybe even this or that character that didn't like him actually believing he's not, because of their reactions to, like, evidence and circumstance or just anything to go on. But right now they're just a bunch of really cool character designs that all point towards a larger, like, culture of different, like different sub-regions with their own, like, dress and background and so on. But we haven't gotten to meet a single one until this moment, and that's kind of rough.
There's another thing that I think about is, like, how much, like, kind of their personalities are communicated here. And one thing I remember around the Solstice build, you know, again, I complained about how suddenly Richter was talking about everyone's so fake. Everyone's, like, constantly maintaining this aura and, you know, like, hiding their true intentions. And it's a little bit like, you wouldn't even have to have that much of a short story. If any one of those terrible 3 on the left there showed up for just, like, a bit, it's like, oh yeah, now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, those owls look like they fucking suck. Just look at the look in his eye. Like, just, there's a lot of that where it's like, that would have colored a lot of that a lot better if you're talking about people around the castle that you can't trust. It's like, I don't trust those birds with shit. Birds aren't real. Get out of here.
Yeah, like, there's a bit of there's a little bit of triteness to always bring up, like, show don't tell, but there's, like, an element of, like, we're just told that this or that person's fake and this and that person's good and so on, but, like, we're not, like,
there's some character somewhere in the castle that he's had bad experiences with, and it's just kind of
but we don't know who, because we feel like we've been him the whole time, so we're like, who's fake, who are the duplicitous nobles, because we've only met obviously Adrius, but I mean, I don't think if he would just say Adrius if he meant that, and we're like, we're supposed to like her, and Kadaj seems to not.
That's the sort of thing. It's like, I know that, like, there's going to be some comments that are like, obviously he's talking about Kadaj. And it's like, no, he's talking about these characters. Like, this is what Atmac is thinking in his head.
Oh yeah, no. At this point,
point,
they've specified, because, like, oh, the people from the ball. Yeah, it's these people, and I'm like, but we didn't meet any of them. We didn't even see any of them.
I might have been my bad memory. Are these, like, the jury, or do they work here?
These are the jury.
Or they just were at the party.
These are the 7 seats, so it's the jury. The use of the numbers signifies that this is the jury that we're about to have, which is why it's all the more, like, because they're not in the crowd. These are deciding characters of the plot, except for the part where Adrius can just override them. So that's specifically why I'm like, it'd be really helpful to have met them before, because now it's like, oh, the drama. It's time for these characters that we've just functionally basically just got made up just now to decide the plot. We're like, huh. Because if they were in the audience, I'd be like, oh, okay. But then it'd be weird they had sprites if they were just in the audience. Next to those chairs is a small table. I can't tell from here, but it looks like there's some evidence on it. On the other side of the throne room, there's another cluster of chairs and a few people are sitting in them. This motherfucker. Kadaj is among them, his green clothing shining vibrantly in the light, making him stand out like a sore thumb. It helps because I'd almost forgotten what he'd looked like.
What?
I don't know what that means either. The cat looks at me with a curious and almost concerned expression. Staggering the steps leading up to the throne are several royal guards. Finn is among them, his helmet on and facing forward, posture straight and shoulders back. There's 2 empty spots among the guards, which I assume are meant for Bjorn and Lyle. Lyle continues to lead me to the bottom of the steps, making sure not to tug on the shackles. I'm also helping by keeping up with him. It's dead quiet in the throne room now. Now they're both capitalized. I'm sorry, I'd have said I'd stop, but there's a new variant has spawned. We have the full Punnett square of capitalizations. Does that even make any sense?
I get you. I'm sure some biology student out there understands.
I'm extremely funny. No, aside from my footsteps. I expected to hear people whispering in the crowd, but nobody is uttering a word. Also, I lied. There's never been a lowercase throne, uppercase room. That would be unhinged. I look up at the throne, the large wooden mass basking in the light from the windows. It's just a little guy. On the left of the throne stands Leaf. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he looks the same as he did the last time I saw him. What with it being a full body outfit. After Lyle and I come to a stop at the bottom of the steps, Leaf notices me looking at him. He looks away, but it doesn't matter as my eyes are drawn to the true centerpiece of the room. There he sits, the crowned King of Lyre. The throne looks small compared to him. No?
Yeah, I think
that has to be a typo. What? What's he sitting in then? That just has to be a typo. Yeah, because the whole point is supposed to be him like ill-fitting, like Joffrey or something.
Yeah.
Just logistically, it can't be small compared to him because his dad sat in it. The throne looked large compared to him as he sits perfectly straight in the seat, arms resting on either side. It's like this large, imposing, ill-fitting. So I think about how like Joffrey was always like getting cut by the blades and so on because he was bad at. No, it was actually. I think Robert actually was getting cut all the time. But yeah, Idris doesn't take his amber eyes off me for a moment as he leans forward in his throne, looking down on me with displeasure. I do appreciate the mental image though of Idris like drop shipping in a replacement throne that makes him look super big and Bara on this little toy throne. It's almost like he's looking right through me into my very soul. On his right stands a figure wearing a green cloak. The robe is priestly, and their arms are brought together within their sleeves. I feel like the looking into my soul type thing tends to be used when a character is keeping something a secret, and they're worried about it being revealed, but our character isn't, so it doesn't really threaten anything here. I've never actually seen them before. They take a few steps down the stairs and stand behind the guards before raising their paws into the air.
All-powerful Tigran, we pray that you guide the members of this trial towards the truth.
Wait, so now I'm like, we have a priest and we sent the executor down to before the priest.
Yeah.
I'm still hung up on that.
It's like in this universe, the executor, the headsman acts like a priest, and then the priest just acts like an official, like an arbiter or something. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure I see Adrius roll his eyes.
Guide our king towards true justice, and may his judgment be swift and true. For he who sits upon the throne of Lyre shall be righteous and protect all from the wicked.
Even given my situation, I can't help but laugh at the idea that Tigran might not even be able to hear this person. Adrius sits up, and I feel his gaze pierce through me once more.
Lord Victor of Erin.
Lyle still stands by my side, looking forward, his paw grasping the chains to my shackles lightly. Yes? The word comes out a bit raspy, so I clear my throat. He rubs his hand on the arm of his seat before continuing.
You have been accused of murdering King Raynar Ocean on the night of the winter solstice. Do you deny it?
Yes.
Very well. We shall proceed then. As king, I will be judging this trial. The rules are very simple.
He leans back in his seat, relaxing his voice.
You will speak only when spoken to, or when you have been permitted to speak without permission.
That's
that
a wild...
What?
Permitted to speak without permission is a wild statement. That's the permission. That's what...
You can speak
fine.
whenever you want, but only...
Until you've been permitted to speak freely. Yeah, not permitted to speak without permission. Like, that's what the permission is. It's fine.
Do you understand this?
Of course.
Good. Along with my judgment, there is a jury of lords and ladies from all across Lyre's territory.
The hooded figure gestures to the nobility sitting off to my left.
Lord Oscar Grimdale, Lord of Grimrock.
That game's so good. I love Legend of Grimrock. He would have trouble fitting in the halls, though. A large bear stands from his seat, bowing to Adrius. The chainmail on his body clinks together with every movement he makes.
Lord Oliver Oswell, Lord of North Osrin.
Big fans of alliteration in that country? The first owl stands, bowing to Adrius. As he bows, he extends his wings behind his body, fluttering the cape draped over his shoulders.
Along with his sister, Lady Olivia Oswell, Lady of the South Osrin. You know, given what we know about the whole couple thing, like, I was absolutely assuming that they were married.
I was
and it feels like a little bit of a dig to be like, oh shit, they're related.
Really big fans of alliteration. The second one stands with them, performing a curtsy, before they both take their seats in unison.
Lord John Galen, Lord of Galemore and Protector of the Galemorian Woods.
The elk stands from his seat, propping himself up on a cane, nodding to Adrius with a stern look. The leaves on his antlers shake as he does this.
Lady Tyrell Rayana, Lady of Aenor. Your name isn't as good as the others.
He forgot to sit down. The vixen stands from her seat and curtsies, though it's not as elegant as she looks.
What?
The curtsy is not as elegant as her dress, I guess?
That sounds more like an insult than a compliment.
It is, basically.
Yeah.
We're negging her body language as being inelegant.
I know I'm on trial, but you should be examined.
She sits back down as the elk steadily manages to place himself back onto his own seat.
Lord William Braden of Braden's Vale.
The small stoat stands from his seat, proudly bowing before jumping back into his chair. Yep. He has to like hop out of his chair and get shorter in the process to then bow beneath the table, I guess, and then hop back onto the table, onto the chair. The furniture scuffs against the floor as he does this.
Lastly, War Minister Elizabeth Reen of Rosewind.
Liz leaves her seat and climbs the steps, taking her place on the right of Adrius's throne.
As the current king's advisor, she will formally be at his side during this trial.
She gives a slight bow in his direction before turning to face the front. The hooded figure takes his time, walking back down the steps as he takes a seat a few chairs down from Kadaj.
You for the introductions. The trial will now begin.
On cue, all of the royal guards stamp their feet, including Lyle.
Sir Lyle Reed.
Lyle steps forward and gets on one knee, lowering his head. His tail is tucked between his legs, almost completely limp.
My king.
You may remove your helmet.
Lyle stands back up and slides the helmet from his head. I can hear a few people make noises of discomfort in the crowds off to the side. Adria's expression doesn't seem to budge.
Do you swear to tell the truth, not only as a citizen of Lyre, but as the captain of the Royal Guard?
I do.
Very well. As the individual who made the arrests of Lord Richter, you may describe your account of the evening and what happened to the best of your ability.
As you wish.
Lyle moves to the center, standing in front of me. He beckons to the people sitting off the sides.
Most of you know that I was assigned to Lord Richter on his arrival in the Kingdom of Lyre as his personal guard. This was a decision made by King Raynar himself. In the time that I have spent with Lord Richter, they have shown no intentions of committing treason or murder. Damn, this started out as being like a puzzle song, but it got really intense. They simply did what they were requested to do by the king as the newly appointed financial advisor.
Suddenly the bear on my left speaks up. Were you given any other specific duties when guarding this lord? He speaks in a very gruff voice, almost interrupting Lyle.
Nothing other than protecting them and guarding their room at night, along with guiding them around the castle. They're foreign, so King Raynar wished for me to help them understand this place. As I was saying,
I did a very bad job at that. What with the surprise
Waited
racism?
until right before the throne, the trial to explain some things.
Explained as little
Similar
as
to
possible,
their-
honestly.
similar to their overall time spent here, nothing out of the ordinary had happened for the most part, for most of the night leading up to the murder. Richter and I attended the ball and decided to leave early.
Ball, where?
If my memory serves correctly, Lord Richter left the party before you after your dance.
A few of the nobles look at Oliver as he says this. His sister stands up next to him, adding on to the statement. He left the ballroom alone, slandering us on his way out after that shameful display.
I followed them almost immediately after. And I don't appreciate you.
No more interruptions from the jury, please.
The twins sit down, one of them waving a dismissive wing in Lyle's direction.
You may continue, Lyle.
I met with Lord Richter at the ball, and we spent some time together before he decided to leave. After I found Richter, I escorted him back to my room as it was closest to where I had found him and he had caught a cold. I knew that my quarters had a fireplace that had already been lit. We stayed there for some time, not intending to return to the party.
I thought he'd be warmer in me.
Then what happened?
After a while of us doing the devil's tango, a servant came to my quarters saying that the King Raynar had sent him to retrieve Richter. The king had business that he wished to discuss with Lord Richter. Richter left with the servant and I stayed behind, knowing that he wouldn't need a guard in Raynar's chambers.
He clears the throat and continues.
After some time, I went to check on Lord Richter. There were no guards posted at the entrance to the staircase. I found that a bit odd, so I ran up the stairs. When I reached the top, I found Richter lying on the ground while Bjorn stood over them, sword drawn, and attacking him. I ordered Bjorn to lay down his sword and then found out that Raynar had been killed. Sir Finn had been sent to alert the castle. I didn't think it was Richter who had done it, not for a second. Even so, I arrested them and locked them in a cell.
Why them?
I was just about to say, like, what were they theming Richter a
he
lot?
Was, he was they theming Richter earlier too in the scene. Yeah, like it's weirdly consistent. He steps back and Adrius nods his head.
Very good. Describe the scene of the crime, please.
Lyle steps forward and continues.
Well, Raynar's chambers are at the top of the highest tower with a spiral staircase leading up to it. The entrance usually guarded by 2 members of the Royal Guard while he's there. After examining the room, we found blood on the curtains and drapes. Other than that, there wasn't too much blood anywhere else. There was also no moisture or snow on the carpet near the window, so it's not likely that it was ever opened. The body was lying on the floor behind the bed.
Liz takes a piece of parchment and passes it around to the nobles. Each of them looks at it and grimaces.
The dagger used in the crime was found to the left of the body. There were clear signs of a struggle separate from the sword marks left in the floor from Bjorn's bastard sword. Raynar had clearly been caught off guard. There were rips in the drapes by the window, indicating that his antlers had tore through them during the struggle. We even found gold flakes from one of his antlers lining the tears.
He pauses, taking a deep breath before continuing. He's doing a really good job so far describing the event. He's not lying about anything, but I wouldn't want him to do that. Yet he's still leaving out some truth.
Several canine guards, along with myself, picked up scents from the room. 4 people had been in the room around the time of the murder. Sir Bjorn, Sir Kadaj, Lord Kadaj, King Raynar, and of course Lord Richter.
There's chatter among the crowd, but Adrius raises his hand to silence them.
Is that all you have to present?
For now.
You're gonna save it for like a dramatic, like, a gotcha?
Apparently.
Yeah, I'm like, you're running out of time, buddy.
Like, this is this is it?
There's no more investigation left. Adrius isn't too happy with his response, but continues anyway.
You may join your guards.
Lyle goes up the steps, putting his helmet back on as he takes his place in the center of the guards. He looks down at me for a moment, giving a barely noticeable nod in my direction.
Leaf? Yes, Your Majesty. Please give your reports on the body. Of course.
Leaf steps forward and holds out a piece of parchment, reading off of it.
When the body was examined, 2 stab wounds were found in the stomach, along with 1 in the chest. The throat had also been slit across the front.
He squints his eyes, holding the parchment closer to his face.
His eyes and head were positioned so that he was looking out the window. Clear signs of a struggle were found on the tips of his fingers.
I can see Adrius get a bit uncomfortable in his chair. I actually feel kind of bad and avert my eyes.
There were also tear stains on his cheeks, and the body was very clearly fresh.
Adrius cuts him off as Leaf becomes lost in his description.
Thank you, Leaf.
Leaf steps back up to the side of the throne, and Liz looks to me. The biggest clue there seems like the fact that he was looking out the window, which seems to indicate that whoever did it escaped out the window.
I want to mention there was also, when Richter had the view of the vision of the bedroom, he talked about how the windows were closed, but the drapes were moving.
Mm-hmm.
They brought up that it couldn't be the window. So I'm like...
It's the window.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like, okay, they were just wrong, probably.
Leaf steps back up to the side of the throne, and Liz looks to me.
Lord Richter, you may now present your side of the story.
I sit there for a moment, not really knowing how to start. The hall is silent, and I can almost hear my own heart beating. Being put on the spot like this is very stressful.
I'm so nervous.
I'm sorry. It's just very funny. You're like, it's just an extremely funny statement in this context where you're on your
Look at
own.
me. This is really embarrassing.
You're on your own murder trial as the defendant. I'm like, yeah, it's a bit stressful. I guess I should start with when Lyle and I separated. I clear my throat and begin. Everything happened just as Sir Reed said it did. At least according to his perspective. The servant whose name I'm not aware of came to fetch me early into the night. I told Lyle to stay behind and left for the king's chambers.
But he's your guard, is he not? Should he not accompany you everywhere?
The servant did not accompany me, saying that I should be able to find my way to his chambers quite easily. Which servant?
I guess the one who called for him, which we haven't like talked about since, I don't think.
Because this sentence is like...
I thought that they were implying like
what's throwing me off is that...
the servant.
Yeah, because like if he means the badger, then this sentence is not replying to the question. Insinuating that I would not need a guide. I was only doing what seemed appropriate. It was implying that since the servant wasn't guiding us, that must mean we also don't need a guard? It's a leap of logic, but I guess it's his attempt at a defense, because he's trying not to just expose the fact that Lyle was messy. He says nothing, waving his hand, allowing me to continue. As I made my way down the hall, I came across Sir Bjorn and Sir Finn, standing guard at the entrance to the staircase. They let me pass, and I made my way up to the room. When I reached the top, there was an area with a large window on the ceiling. Window on the ceiling? Was there?
Ahead, right, I guess.
Ahead were the doors, and when I entered, that's when I noticed something was off. The room was dark, and the curtains and drapes lining the ceiling blocked out a lot of the light. I couldn't see Raynar, so I assumed he wasn't there. That's when I noticed the damage. Broken portraits, large tears to the canopy of the bed. I followed the trail of broken objects and found his body. At first I didn't know what I was looking at. The entire scene left me shocked. I didn't know what to do, and everything was spinning.
What happened next?
Well, as most of you know, I had been quite ill. I was having constant headaches daily, not to mention the few days I spent comatose. I assumed my mind couldn't handle the sudden shock, and I began to suffer from similar pains. I tried to reach the door to warn someone and tell them what had happened. In the crowd behind me, I can hear people whispering back and forth. Even the nobles are talking amongst themselves. You'd think they would want to hear this. That's when Bjorn entered the room. Right on cue, I would say. He started by spouting off a question for Raynar, but he quickly found out something was wrong. Finn was with him at the time, but Bjorn told him to stay at the door. He found me, collapsing on the ground, and immediately rushed to Raynar's body. He assumed that I had killed him intact. Of course, not before sending Finn away to alert the castle. That way he could have me all to himself. If Lyle hadn't arrived in time, he would have killed me on the spot.
You didn't mention knocking on the door.
Everyone looks up and a few people in the crowd start whispering. I didn't.
So, you didn't knock on the door.
Neither did Sir Bjorn. People in the crowd begin to murmur. Adrius doesn't look pleased nor convinced. But when is he ever?
I assume the rest of your account is similar to Lyle's.
Yes.
Very good. Sir Finn, please tell us your side of the story, if you will.
Finn turns around, taking off his helmet, facing the nobles and Adrius. I'm surprised this character doesn't have a sprite, given everything else. He actually comes up more than most of these other characters. Jordan and I... Who was Finn?
I can't. I was it's like.
I think it was you,
Was it me?
Keith. Yeah.
Bjorn and I were guarding the entrance to King Raynar's chambers that night, as you know. We allowed Lord Richter to pass a few minutes before our shift change. Bjorn and I went to the stairs and let King Raynar know that we were going to be leaving when Bjorn found out what had happened. I told him to alert the castle, and I was told to alert the castle, and I did so. I was able to quickly find the commander of the castle guard and alert him to the murder. Soon, everyone in the castle knew.
Is that all?
There's one last thing. The reason Bjorn's scent was found in the room was because he would check in on King Raynar every once in a while. As meat-headed as he is, he's dutiful. I don't know why we're specifying, because we already... everyone's account puts Bjorn in the room, so we don't need to explain Bjorn's scent being in the room.
Is there implying that Bjorn was there before all of this?
I guess, but like the investigation where they sniffed it out would have been after the murder, and we already know why he was in the room after the murder.
Yeah, he was
So
there.
So it's not suspicious that his smell was in the room. Each time he returned to our post, I noticed nothing out of the ordinary.
Anything else?
Adriest almost seems bored. No, that's it. Finn places his helmet back on his head and reassumes his position among the guards. Unfortunately, that gives Bjorn a nice alibi.
Moving on, we will present some unbiased individuals who have had enough interactions with you to be able to judge your character. Starting with Leaf.
Just a little guy. Leaf walks down the steps and stands in front of the throne. So far, everything seems to be going smoothly, but something feels off.
Leaf, please detail your interactions with Lord Richter.
He clears his throat and begins.
My lords and ladies, Lord Richter has been a good friend. In the time that he has been here, he has shown nothing but kindness and understanding. He can be a bit odd at times, but no more than the rest of the staff in this castle. I have tended to their wounds and helped him with the head pains he experiences frequently. They've been an excellent patient. Over the past few weeks, he seems to have almost blended in with the nobility residing in this castle. He has become closely acquainted with Sir Reed, and they work very well together. Not only that, but as the assigned financial advisor, I'm told he did his job and did it well. He saved the king a lot of money with that party.
He pauses, bowing before Adrius.
That is all.
Leaf steps back, and even though all of the things he said were kind, it feels like it wasn't a lot. I guess we can't have gotten to know each other that well outside of him caring for me.
Thank you, Leaf. Please stay. I just have a few questions for you.
I feel a tightness in my gut as he says this.
Yes, Your Highness? A few days before the solstice, I believe an incident happened. I asked because I was not there, but I'm told that it was a very theatrical incident. Richter here came storming into a meeting between my father and the War Minister. He started spouting off things about what happened 10 years ago, things about my mother. The assassins from the canyons also came into question. Am I correct?
I want to speak up and tell him that's what really happened. I have a strong urge to do it, but I think the best thing to do right now is let Leaf talk.
Oh, yes. Lord Richter has been suffering from terrible nightmares lately. He merely believed that he had some sort of premonition.
I hear a few people chuckle in the crowd behind me and wish I could turn around and yell at them to shut it. What does Leaf think he's doing?
He had awoken frightened and confused, demanding an immediate audience with your father. Before things could go any further, Lord Richter collapsed and fell into a bit of an unconscious state. though I assured your father that I was just letting him rest. Your father even told me himself that it might have been brought on from a story he told Lord Richter the day before. He even admitted to me that he regretted being so open about something, knowing that it troubled Richter.
Actually, he might just be saving my ass. Still, I so badly want to tell them.
And yet, he wasn't open. In fact, Father never was too detailed when it came to talking about Mother. And yet, Richter here knew many details.
This is definitely going downhill. I want to tell everyone about Tigran and what's been happening to me, but I hold myself back. I just have to trust that Tigran is handling things, wherever they are. Although things aren't looking too good, and the more time that passes, the more I yearn for a sign from him. Which one
This
is
is
Lady?
the Vixen.
Oh yeah,
I'll take
green.
Lady Rihanna.
It is a bit amusing that Lord Richter was so interested in Elena's death.
Lady Rihanna. Because the fox legend that's so popular in France that it became the name of foxes is Renard. The Vixen
see
cuts
that.
in, talking in a very small voice.
I was very close with her, and even I'm not privy to most of what's happened.
Is that voice coming through okay?
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, Raynar rarely spoke of such things, and when he did, it wasn't much.
It's been real special because he just was all about it.
I fail to see how this has anything to do with what I've been accused of. It's like the first he's spoken.
Quiet. I'm afraid you don't get to decide what's relevant. Remember, speak only when spoken to.
Or when you
mentally-
are permitted to speak
Or
without
when you are
permission.
I mentally berate myself for not holding my tongue. Still, this is a mock trial if I've ever seen one. I don't know if I'd go to that conclusion. I mean, I know going into it that's probably that, but nothing seems that weird about this discussion to me right now. The weirdest thing about this trial is that there is no equivalent of lawyers.
Oh.
Like just the fact that Richter doesn't have a defense of any kind, so he literally has to just sit there and just wait to be asked to say things, and if he doesn't, and he only gets to explain what he's told to explain, and then just has to sit there silently again. I'm like, that's not much of a trial.
Yeah, I don't have a realistic sense of what fantasy trials usually entail. I don't recall lawyer.
I don't imagine.
To me, this
that,
always vibed as like what I expect for a king trial.
Yeah, I don't imagine monarchies' tribunals were particularly fair.
Thank you, Leaf, for being so cooperative. I now wish to hear from Minister Elizabeth.
Leaf walks back up the steps to the side of Adrius's throne, and Liz takes his place.
You may begin, Minister.
At first, she doesn't say anything. She's most likely thinking about what to say and how to say it, which I honestly appreciate, knowing that my life is possibly at stake. Before the throne can become completely silent, she speaks up.
I don't really know this guy. He just kind of walks into rooms and screams a lot.
Yeah.
Then he walks out.
He turned my dance down, and I hated him ever since.
Yeah, he just exclusively does make a scene every time I encounter him.
Lord Richter and I did not have the best first impression.
I actually was introduced to them during the incident that Leaf described. It was not a problem at all, really, as I try to be tolerant of things like that. I can't say I've got to know them too well, that would be a lie, but the interactions I've had with them have been for the most part normal. I even had time to chat with them during the Solstice Ball. With them being from Erin, like myself, idle chat came easily. I can't say much about what happened after that. I watched them dance with Sir Reed, and then they left.
even outside of this trial, I keep hearing about this dance. Why is it so important?
Do you not know either?
You don't
No
know
one-
the
He admittedly
tea
wasn't
yet?
there.
No, I just mean like,
No one told him?
Well, I'm
Damn.
certain he's goading it out of them. That's the point.
I'm just saying like, I'm just saying like if you, it's self-descriptive that they dance together, so it's like, is
Yeah, but
the,
they dance.
is the scandal not inherently apparent? I'm just amused by thinking about the idea that maybe he also just never goes outside.
Okay, yeah.
There's a pause in the conversation, but Liz answers after a few moments of contemplation.
Lord Victor and Lyle danced together shortly before leaving the party. Certain people have been spreading gossip, but that's none of my concern. As far as I know, it was a dance, nothing more.
Interesting. I did not attend, but I have heard the gossip as well.
Adrius looks down at me, sneering.
Thank you for clearing that up.
I keep hearing about them dancing. They dance together. Thank you for clearing that up. What? Yeah, I know. That's what the words meant the first time.
I needed a good source. I'm aware that most of the people in this courtroom were present during the solstice ball. Lady Oswell?
The Lady Owl stands from her seat, her winged hands resting at the center of her waist. Yes, Your Majesty.
Your brother speaks so highly of your good memory. I feel like everyone could use a nice refresher.
I don't like where this is going. Not one bit. I have a very strong feeling that he's about to use another out-of-pocket instance to smear my image. And all I can do
He's not
is
only
sit
a
here and
father
take
killer,
it.
he's also...
A vibes killer.
What was it that Lord Richter said before leaving the ballroom? I've been hearing so much about this little outburst lately.
If my memory is as good as you say it is, I remember him saying something along the lines of, "To all of you shams who smile at me through your teeth, only to have your good opinion crushed by something so trivial, enjoy yourselves." God, I really did say that. Her memory is impeccable. She doesn't even have to... she doesn't even have a way to cheat like I do.
This was said after the night had turned sour by their display.
Her brother butts in, but Atreus holds up his hand, silencing the two of them.
Thank you for refreshing our memories.
I think it was warranted.
Adrius turns to look at her, and she looks at him too. At first I'm afraid something might happen, but Adrius just quietly responds.
Thank you, Minister.